Hi, this is Dan Gilmore.
And hi, it's Gene Tyndall.
And we're here again for this week's version of Supply Chain Planet. Gene, we wrote an article last week on change management, and that's a topic that really over the last couple of years has, I think, come back to the fore as companies look to drive success from their initiatives and technology projects. But boy, there's sure a lot of companies that still don't seem to get it right. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I know, that's good. I'm glad you wrote the article on managing the change in supply chain management initiatives, and it's still there and it's still important. I think what happened in the 90s, we all went through this with ERPs and continuing in the 2000s actually, because we realized that change is important as we introduced some huge new technology, or any new initiative for that matter, and a lot of development of models and other approaches have occurred since then, and a lot of testing has been done. It's similar to what we've learned so much about SAP and Oracle implementations is the same thing in change management.
Yeah. The article actually, our article was triggered by a piece from coming out of a CSC&P publication. A guy named Russell Kinnenberg from Cargill reviewed some of the existing models for change management. There's the famous one by John Cotter out of Harvard University. GE under Jack Welch developed their own model called the Change Acceleration Process, or CAP. Russell Kinnenberg did a nice job of reviewing some of the existing models, and he sort of took a combination of them. You see here up on the screen the model that he put together, things like identifying the need and urgency for change, creating the vision, communication, assembling the team, empowering for success, mobilizing commitment, architecting, designing, and measuring, celebrating short-term wins. It really is a combination of many and some other of those models that I referenced. Gene, does it really matter that much which of these models you use?
Well, it doesn't, as long as they're complete. And his 8 points are comparable to John Cotter's, which we used a lot in the 90s, and we developed our own at Ernst & Young based on Cotter's and actually GE's. So as long as you have a complete model, you're okay. And the difference is not in what's in the model, is how it's executed. Just like changing people requires people that know how to change, following the model requires people who are expert at it as well. So what we've seen is the fact that some of these, if you take these 8 steps, for example, they're not all done all the time at the highest possible quality, and it's like a supply chain. If one breaks, they all break.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. The GE model was really developed when Welch and some others at GE recognized in the 1990s that responsiveness and agility to opportunities and changes in the marketplace were going to be the key going forward. And I think that's a lesson that every company needs to think about.
Yeah, exactly, and that actually evolved from their famous workout model, which was to redesign processes and take out of the company the low 10% each year. And what Welch and his senior guys realized is you can't continue that way forever. You've got to have a way to change the 90% who are still there.
Well, these models are helpful. We'd like to discuss what some of the other keys to successful change management are. We'll discuss that in just a second.
Good.
Brought to you this week by Softion. Softion provides rich and innovative solutions for warehouse management, transportation management, labor management, and complete order-to-delivery systems. There's nothing else quite like it on the market. It's why logistics leaders like L'Oreal, Time Warner, Federation Logistics, and House of La Rose rely on Softion solutions.
All right, I'm back here with Gene Tyndall. Gene, you've spent a lot of time on this whole area, certainly in your consulting practices. Much experience here. Beyond the sort of the 8-step or 10-step or whatever the number of steps in the models are, what do you think some of the real keys are to getting change management right for new supply chain initiatives, projects, technology implementations? Yeah,
there's some real lessons we've learned in the trials and tribulations of change over the years. And people are people. I mean, they'll already train change in the way they behave. So you realize that at the beginning. But there's a couple principles I would like to convey. One is executive commitment and support. And that's obvious, but if you don't have that executive commitment to empowering change and so on, people will not do it, and that's critical. Second is, while that's necessary, it's not sufficient. You cannot drive change out of the executive suite and make it happen other than by fear, and that's not the right way to do it. So I've always liked the Japanese approach. It's middle up and middle down. Middle managers run Japanese companies, at least the cultures and the operations. And if you get the middle managers, especially the ones with credibility, engaged, you're going to have a big success at letting them work up and down and across. The third thing is expert facilitation. We touched on earlier the quality of people who are trying to lead the change. You need the good experts who have gone through it before and know how to do it, to really facilitate it, because it's not directive. It's not following lectures. It's facilitation, and that's important. The fourth thing I've thought about is demonstration of success. And Kendall talked about short-term wins, but that's very important, especially in a company that's been around a long time. If they don't see a success, they're not going to jump onto the bandwagon. So many companies now, especially when CEOs turn over as they do, the tendency is, look, we're not going to, we'll play this game, but the CEO will leave soon and there'll be another one to play. And I think this is also part of the problem of embracing it and making the change itself stick. And the fifth thing, and this is another principle that you've got to have, is performance measures. People do what they're measured on. If you reward good teamwork, they'll do teamwork. If you reward the right things, they'll do it. And change is all about teamwork, and it's about a new kind of process with metrics around the process. But again, the performance measures for people are often forgotten. So those 5 things popped into my mind as absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I think all 5 of those are good, and actually each one of those, I think, could be deserving of its own supply chain plant discussion. I actually do want to do a piece one time on that executive support, because that gets thrown out a lot, but I think not everyone's sure. It means different things to different people, and I'd really like to explore what executive support really, really means, but we're going to have to save that for another time. Excellent discussion, Gene. Look forward to the next one. This is Dan Gilmore.
And Gene Tyndall, thank you.
And that's it for this week's Supply Chain Planet.